With the end of the year approaching, I thought it was time for a video to wrap up all the Skoda problems and what's happened with it, where it's at, and all that blah blah. If you haven't watched my previous video, basically I had the aircon failed and I had this knocking noise and just some trim that wasn't lining up that I wanted fixed because of my OCD of everything lining up. The aircon, since my last video, that ended up failing again. And they went digging through it again, looked at everything, and what it was in the end, because I guess some of that fluid they put in one of the previous times to identify where the leak is finally leaked through, because it was losing about, I think it was either 300 or 400 milligrams of gas for in about 2-3 months. And I mean that's a tiny amount, obviously not really noticeable. In the engine bay where the firewall is, where the aircon pipe obviously screws onto another pipe that goes through the firewall, the little rubber O-ring seal wasn't sitting right, and that's where a little bit of gas would escape, and so it was very hard to identify. Finally they sorted that out. It's been way more than 3 months now. Aircon's working perfectly, so that side of things is good. Knocking noise, no one can solve that. They thought it was the seat belt. It wasn't the seat belt. They thought it was all the little tools and junk I have in the boot. Wasn't any of that, so that is still an outstanding problem. If it still can't be solved by the time winter comes, I will start taking apart that whole back area until I find out what is causing that noise. It mainly happens when the car is cold. Once you've been driving for a while, it doesn't happen, but if you go over a certain bump or little dip in the road, it does happen. It's overall a very temperamental noise, but at this stage I think if it was anything serious that was holding any suspension components in place, honestly I think it would have just all fell out somewhere on the road. So it's probably this little screw or something in there that's come a bit loose and just decides to knock sometimes. Having said that, I will take it to a dealership down the Gold Coast to have a look at that noise, because these guys in Brisbane are not having any luck. All the other OCD, my little OCD plastic, that's all staying fine now. It's all good. When I had the 30,000 kilometer service, I think in the US it's called trying to put the tip in. I'm not sure what it's called in Australia, or does it really have a name? Basically add stuff to do to the car that doesn't need to be done. One of those things was replacement of windscreen wipers. There is nothing wrong with the windscreen wipers. Granted, we haven't had rain in Queensland for a good 6 months, so windscreen wipers haven't been used. But throughout the last week, we've had a fair chunk of rain, which some of it I was caught on the road, and windscreen wipers work, they clean fine. The bullshit came when they told me the replacement price, $120 to replace the front blades, and I believe it was $30 or $40 to replace that rear wiper. The rear wiper that I have switched off in the system so that it never comes on, because I just hate that little half circle on the back window it leaves, so I've just switched that off. It never comes on. I don't use it. And this $120 was just at the front to replace the two rubbers. It's ridiculous. I can go down to Costco, pick up Michelin windscreen wipers, that like the complete wiper, for I think when I was there I saw it for $15 each. So that was the first thing. The second thing they told me is at the next service the brakes will have to be replaced. I said, alright, was it pads? And they went, no, the rotors need to be done as well. Like, I've never replaced rotors on a car that, you know, the next service is $45,000. There is no way, like, any of the brake stuff needs to be replaced. I just find this, it's just trying to put the tip in big time, because I bet, I don't know how much, I think rotors online go for $160, so that's going to be about $250, $300 at the dealership. Pads are probably about $150, $100, $150, somewhere around there. which is excessive. I mean, I can pick up pads on Amazon, eBay for $80 from a good brand. But they did give me a good idea there, because I thought these will be due at some point. I'm going to Europe pretty soon, so I'll just pick them up there. Because anything with Euro cars in Australia generally attracts a premium price tag. My first car was an Audi 80 that gave me more problems than anything. Probably the amount of money I spent in that car, I just could have bought a brand new Golf. One of the front indicators, I think my first car, I dinged it somewhere. I had no idea about driving. Anyway, the little plastic cracked, and I went into Audi over in the valley at Brisbane, and they said $120. And I went like, it's a piece of plastic. Like, what is it, gold plated inside? Anyway, I didn't buy it. And a few months later, I was off to Europe to visit family. And in this small town in Bosnia, where my aunt lives, I saw a spare parts store. And I went in there, I said, how much for this indicator? I showed him a picture of it. I said, I need one like this. And it cost me 15 convertible marks that are used in Bosnia, which at that time I worked out to it was about 7-8 Australian dollars. And so I bought one for both sides. Now when I go to Bosnia, I will buy the rotors and I will buy the brake pads. Alright, so first look at the brakes. So this is where I positioned the wood, just there to hold it up. Might or might not be the right spot, but it's doing its job. So the rotors that need replacing, it's not going to show up on camera because I can't see this, but having a look there, like there isn't even a millimeter of wear. And the other side's got this stupid thing that's used as a snow cover in Europe. It's about the same on both sides. So as for the brake pad, don't think that's going to need replacing. That's the other side. So that's the rotor, that's the brake pad. No way that's going to need replacing. I have to say, I totally forgot that this thing might have a brake sensor, but now that I know that it does, the brake wear sensor, I won't replace it. And where that lives is... so this is the line for the ABS. That's obviously the brake fluid. And this, that goes into the actual pad there, is the brake sensor. Just for anyone interested, this is the rear brake pad. Like, there is just no wear on that. There is nothing. That's almost like brand new. The pad, not sure whether they'll show up good on the camera, but there is plenty left there. So there you have it. There is nothing that will need replacing in 10,000 Ks when the 45,000 service is due. We'll just keep running the car until the little sensors come on going, hey, your brakes need replacing. That's pretty much all for this time. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. There's my Christmas tree just here. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.